Hello, ma'am. Good evening to all. This is day two of special lecture series program for undergraduate students. Today's topic of discussion is human resource management. Today we have Jayasree Das ma'am. She is state aided college teacher category 1, Department of Commerce, Harimohan Ghose College, West Bengal, India. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Uh, Before starting, I would like to thank our society and Lama sir and his whole team for organizing this special lecture program and for considering me for the same. Okay, now coming to HRM, I have tried to cover in my lecture uh, the syllabus more or less taught in undergraduate level. I have divided my lecture into 5 units. Okay, that is the nature and scope, human resource planning, recruitment and selection, training and development, job evaluation, and performance appraisal. Okay. Uh, at the end, if you have any questions for me, please do raise. Okay. So let us start. Let us take a deep breath and let us focus. So, one, two, three, four, and five. I am starting my presentation. So, if just let me know whether it is visible to you or not. Is my screen visible to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Please.
thank you. Okay. So we will start with Unit 1, HRM. What is HRM? Now, whenever we talk about HRM, the first thing that comes to our mind is business. Now, in a business concern, there are 8 important elements. 8. What are them? Men, materials, methods, money, machines, motive, market, and management. Now, among these 8 elements, you see, only men are the animate or living resource, while all other are inanimate resources. So, these men, they form the most critical area of management. Why? Because they may cooperate or withdraw their cooperation, because they have their own emotions, feelings, willingness, unwillingness, grievances, different sort of attitudes. So, what is HRM? It is the art of procuring, developing, and maintaining proficient workforce to attain the goals of an organization in an effective and efficient manner. The main task of human resource management are to select the right person for the right job and then place them in the appropriate job, import training to them, develop human resources, provide job security, arrange for welfare measures, and make optimum utilization of human resources. So, we can say that the main goal of HRM is to motivate employees for higher work performance and improve their group productivity. Now, coming to the nature of HRM. See, number one, what I have written, it is based on certain principles and policies. What sort of principles? Like fair remuneration, team spirit, effective communication. Next, HRM is a equivalent function. That is, it is spread throughout the organization from lower level to the top level department. Number three, it is employee oriented because HRM works with and for people. It works with and for people. Next, HRM is a continuous activity. Why? Because in HRM, it is needed to continuously train, develop, replace people. Okay? Continuously, as per change in the market, as per change in the competition. So it is a continuous activity. So we can say HRM is a part of management functions. Why? Because there are certain issues like hiring, training, development, compensation, motivations. These all are taken care by HRM. So, in a nutshell, the core aim of HRM is optimum utilization of employees. Okay. Now, coming to the scope of HRM. See, I have written so many points: staffing and advisory functions, arrangement for training and development, framing promotion policy, job analysis, job evaluation, performance appraisal, employee compensation, welfare measures, dynamism, maintenance of industrial discipline, human resource designing and planning. The scope is quite broad enough. If we want to summarize it, we have to say that human resource management include number one, employee recruitment and selection. Number two, employee training and development. Number three, employee performance management. Number four, compensation and benefits administration. And number five, industrial relations. You see, whatever points I have written, it can be elaborated, more can be added, but the way I have summarized it includes the total boundary within which the HRM functions. Okay, now moving on to objectives. There are four major objectives as you can see on the screen. Number one, societal objectives. Why? Because see, the business concern is actually working within the society. So the organization becomes obviously socially responsible to the needs and challenges of the society. Okay. Why? Again, there can be a why. Because the failure of the organization to use their resources for the society's benefit in an ethical ways may lead to certain restrictions. Next objective, organizational objectives. What do you mean by organizational objectives? Why it is why it is being called organizational objectives? Excuse me. Because the organization actually works, rather this HRM works within the organization to assist the organization with its primary objectives. What is its primary objectives? uh, its primary objective is profit maximization and, and fulfilling responsibility towards the society. Number three, functional objectives. Now, HR or human resources, they are to be adjusted to suit the organization demands. The department value should not become too expensive at the cost of the organization it serves. Because if it becomes too expensive, then the organization will not be able to afford it. Next, personal objectives. Why? Because it assists employees in achieving their personal goals. Okay, hope it is clear up till now. Next, we move on to the functions. Now, coming to the functions, there are a number of functions within the purview of HRM. Number one, managerial functions. What does it include? It includes POSDC. I hope you all are, you all are acquainted with POSDC. That is planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. I'm not going into the details of this because I hope in the plus two level, all of you have already gone through these terms. You all are acquainted with. Next comes to the operative functions. Operative functions are also known as service functions. Why? Because HRM relate to ensuring right people for right jobs at the right time. Third, procurement functions. Now, this procurement function is concerned with procuring and employing people who possesses manpower planning, recruitment, selection, placement, induction, and internal mobility. Okay. Next, development functions. Uh, what do you mean by development functions? This is a process which includes improving, molding, changing, and developing the skills, knowledge, creative ability, aptitude, attitude, values, commitment based on the present and future requirement, both of the individual and organization. Why? Because if uh, a company wants to succeed, then it has to attain both the individual and organization level goals. And that is only possible if they keep in mind both the present and the future requirements. So, this function includes training, executive development, career planning and development plans by means of education, training, job search, and HRT, that is human resource development. Next, we come to motivation and compensation functions. This is a process which inspire people to give their best to the organization through the use of two types of rewards. Number one, intrinsic reward and extrinsic reward. Now, what do you mean by intrinsic reward? It includes achievement, recognition, responsibility, and extrinsic reward. What does it include? Job designing, work scheduling, appraisal based incentives. Okay. So, uh, next we come to maintenance. What do you mean by maintenance? Maintaining what? Maintaining, that is protecting and preserving the physical and psychological health, that is the mental health of employees. How? Certain welfare measures. Companies organize safety and health programs. Then they look after the employee welfare in terms of housing, transportation, education, recreation facilities. Okay, these all are included in the employee welfare package. And not only this, management also tries to provide social security to the employees in terms of certain social security measures. Like you all have heard of maternity benefits to women employees, then there are sickness benefits, medical benefits, disablement benefits, dependent benefits, retirement benefits like a provident fund, pension, gratuity. Next, we come to integration functions. Integration means you all know uniting. Now, you tying what? Here, it means trying to unite or integrate goals of an organization with employee aspirations. How? By organizing certain employee oriented programs like redressing grievances promptly, instituting proper disciplinary measures, increasing worker interactions, because then it will enhance team spirit, teamwork. Then then by encouraging collective bargaining, trade unions, having harmonious industrial relations, encouraging employee participation, empowerment. Okay, so I hope from here, whatever we have discussed, you have already gathered an idea that what should be the role of an human resource manager. Number one, they have administrative roles, which includes being a policymaker, an administrative expert, an advisor, an housekeeper, counselor, welfare officer, legal consultant, and it also includes operational roles of a recruiter, trainer, developer, motivator, coordinator, mediator, and lastly, employee champion. Now, see, I have been telling so many good things about HRM, but aren't there any limitations? Everywhere there's a boon and a ban. So, even there are certain limitations of HRM also. HRM is very useful in creating work culture. So, these limitations we should, rather, every company should try to overcome these limitations. Number one, if there is lack of top management support, then HRM will not function well. Number two, HRM is a very recent concept, and so it lacks universally approved academic base. Third, the needs and aspirations of people should be taken into account while framing HR policies. Because men, as I've said at the beginning, they are animate objects, living objects. So, improper implementation can lead to failure. Next, inadequate development programs. If the programs are only confined to classroom lectures, then expected results are not coming out from this approach. Lastly, some organizations do not have requisite information about their employees. So, if the company does not have adequate information in their database, the system cannot be properly implemented. Okay. Uh, so, here we have come to an end of chapter one. So, what we will do now, we will again go through the slides. For every slide, I'll wait for 5 to 6 seconds. I'll wait for you to recap and then I'll move on to the next slide. Okay. I request everyone to please, give yourself this 6 seconds. Please. Now we are moving on to the next unit. Please take a deep breath and count with me 1 to 5 as we move on to the next unit with lot of focus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we move on to unit 2, that is human resource planning. Human resource planning. It is the continuous process of predicting future workforce needs and developing plans to make optimal use of employee skills and aptitude. What does this mean? It is, we can say, it is a process of matching Supply of people with the opening of the organization requirement over a given time frame. Okay. Now coming to the need. Why human resource planning is required. Number one, technological change. See, there are so many, right now, the world is so dynamic. There is change in production technology, in marketing methods, management techniques, and these changes are quite extensive and rapid. These changes causes problems relating to redundancies, retention, and deployment. So, all these suggest the need to plan manpower needs intensively and systematic. Number two, employment unemployment situation. Why? Because there is an acute shortage for a variety of skills. So, there must be an emphasis on the need for more effective recruitment so that only the talented employees can be retained. Number three, demographic change. Nowadays, see, women are coming to workplace more than before. The barrier of sex, literacy, technical inputs, these are taking a sit back. People from different social background, from different profiles, they are moving into the workforce. So there is a demographic change, and obviously it has implications for HRP. Next, skill shortage. Uh, as time is going, organizations are becoming complex and they require a wide range of specialist skills and the skills that are rare and scarce. So a problem arises when employees with such specialized skills leave. So the vacancies have to be fulfilled. So there has to be HRP for fulfilling those vacancies. Next, government influences, government controls, and changes in legislations with regard to affirmative action for disadvantaged groups, working conditions, child employment, hours of work, restrictions on women, contractual labor. Okay. These have stimulated the organization somewhere down to become too involved in the systematic HRP. Now, as far as legislative control is concerned, now policies of hire and fire have gone. It is easier, if you want to increase the size of an organization, but it is difficult if you want to reduce. It is not so quick because there are legislative control. So, managing manpower is becoming more difficult. The HRM manager, they have to look ahead and they have to foresee the manpower problems. Next, influencing groups. Uh, who are these influencing groups? It can be your unions, your politicians. Okay. Now, what do they do? Um, they raise contradictory pressures on this enterprise in case of internal recruitment, promotions. Okay. So, they also sometimes create problems, and that has to be also be foreseen by the HRM manager. Moreover, the spread of system thinking right now is in advent of the macro computer as a part of ongoing revolution in the information technology, uh, specifically after this COVID. So, there has to be emphasis on planning newer ways of handling voluminous personal records. So, long lead time is somewhat necessary. Okay. Now, uh, coming to the factors that determine your HRP, there are certain factors that has to be kept in mind while while rather planning for your manpower. That is number one, your employment condition of your own country, your percentage of labor turnover, influence of pressure groups. I've just now, a few minutes back, I've discussed about the pressure groups. Then the finance that is available, nature of position that is to be filled up, whether it is for the skilled work or it is for the semi-skilled work. Next, outsourcing capacities or scope of outsourcing. Even environmental issues have also to be kept in mind. Technological issues and legal factors are obviously you have to keep in mind. Now, these are the important factors that need to be considered for proper HR planning. So, if you are asked to summarize that what are the main important factors or the main major ones, what has to be considered in case of long term HR planning, that is number one, determination of number of employees. Why? There is change in your product, change in technique of production, need for new machinery, change in sale method, change in technique of advertising, blah, 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 blah. So many changes. So you have to consider the number of employees, the change in the number of employees, the need under the changed circumstances. Next, what you have to do, you have to match the employees with the job. That is, you have to prepare the list of works to be done and the number of employees to be employed. Uh, because such preparation will help you in case of future change in the nature of work, and you also have to keep in mind the quality of employees needed to perform such works. Third, employee deployment plan. That is, if you find that some employee lacks in quality, then you have to train them. You have to develop them. Okay. Next, we'll move on to the next slide. That is the steps. Steps in HR planning, or you can say it is the process of HR planning. Step one, analyzing the organizational objectives. This you have to do very carefully and you have to understand the objectives clearly. Number two, understanding the present inventory of human resource. That is, you have to understand the current availability of the staff. So it has to be studied. Only then you will have a clear idea of the new recruitment requirements. Number three, forecasting demand and supply. What do you mean by demand forecasting and supply forecasting? Demand forecasting means estimating the quality and quantity of human resource. That is, you are estimating number of people required to achieve the desired level of output for the organization. And what is supply forecasting? It means a future availability of HR, and also it includes the sources from where you can hire them. So you have to do an analytical study of both demand and supply of HR. Next step, estimating manpower gaps. If you find that there is a deficit, then that means you have to recruit more people. If there is not a deficit, if there is a surplus, then you need to terminate, and how you will reduce the size of the organization, that you have to give a thought. Number five, formulating the action plan. Now, what does this action plan includes? It involves activities like selection, placement, induction, training, development. Okay. Lastly, monitoring, control, and feedback. According to your action plan, either there has been new employment or termination, and you have to see whether you have succeeded or failed. If you have failed, you have to take the corrective actions. Okay. Now, uh, in case of Unit 2, also, I have been only talking about the benefits of HRP. Now, let me tell about, rather, let us talk about the problems of HRP also. Number one, it is very, very difficult to make long range manpower forecast accurately. Why? Because there is continuous change of economic, technological, market conditions. So accurate planning of long range human resource is very difficult. Number two, uh, there can be vacancy from death, retirement, resignations. Very difficult to anticipate. Number three, the methods that are followed for human resource planning, excuse me, they are not foolproof. So HRP becomes a very costly device, and like all other functions, HRP also demands continuous training. So these are the limitations of HRP. Now, just like the first chapter, here also, again from the beginning, we will have a recap. For every slide, I'll wait for 6 seconds and then I'll move on to the next slide. And next, we will move on to the third chapter. Okay, so let us move on to chapter. Let us take a deep breath. All of you take a deep breath with me and let us count 1 to 5 as we move with full focus to chapter 3, that is recruitment and selection. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, recruitment. What is recruitment? It is the process of searching for prospective employees, stimulating and encouraging them to apply for jobs in an organization. So, it is the identification of possible sources of human resource supply and appointing those sources. Okay. And what is selection? It is the process of choosing deserving candidates. Now, coming to the meaning and importance. Number one, it determines the present and future requirements. Quite obvious. Number two, it prevents disruption of business activities. Why? Because it helps, to move on smoothly. It ensures that the daily activities of the organizations are carried out seamlessly. Number three, it increases the success rate of hiring. It helps in expanding the talent pool. It is cost effective. Why? because it focuses on minimizing total cost and the time spent on finding suitable employees. So it helps to improve the credibility of the organization. Why? Because the adoption of good application method by a company will, increase the trust of job applicant. Okay. Next, we move on to the sources. Now, there are two major sources of recruitment: internal and external. What are the internal sources? Obviously, the present employees. Now, how can these present employees be hired? By through promotions. Promotions means upward movement. Through transfers, that is the lateral movement. Through internal advertisements, and even sometimes, formal employees are also recruited. That is the ex employees. Then there can be employee referrals, and this is very common in case of BPOs. Okay. And then, recruitment can be done from previous applications also, like perhaps the company is having in their database the previous applications. From there also, recruitment can be done. What are the merits of these internal sources? It is very simple, easy, quick, time saving, cost effective. Why? There is no need of induction and training. These candidates are already aware of their jobs, they're aware of their responsibilities. So it motivates employees to work very hard because it increases their working relationship with the organization. And this also help in developing the loyalty. But this has demerit also. Why? Number one, it will stop new innovative ideas that can come into the organization from new blood. This has limited scope because all vacant positions cannot be filled in this method. New talents will be required. There are more chances of biasness if you go for internal sources. Then, if you go for internal sources, there can be a raise of jealousy between the employees, and that may cause disturbance in the harmony of the organization. Okay. Now coming to the external sources. External sources are also many. There can be direct recruitment. There can be a notice, placed on the notice board of the organization. There are employment exchange. You know, there are employment exchange in different places, like in Kolkata. There's the employment exchange that just beside your, in Salt Lake, beside your Bikash Bhavan. There's a employment exchange in your Khidirpur, just beside the tram depot. Okay, these are exchanges. These exchanges are government entities. They have details of candidates requiring jobs. They store them and they give it to the employers for filling their vacant positions. Then there are employment agencies. There can be advertisement. Advertisements are very popular nowadays. Then walk-in interviews. You will see every fine morning there is a advertisement of walk-in interview given in the newspaper. There are campus recruitment. There are labor contractors for manual workers, the daily wage laborers. They get hired through the contractors. Job fairs are organized for entry level jobs. Then outsourcing method is right now very popular. Then poaching. Poaching or raiding. This is our new concept for you. What is it? It means hiring a competent or experienced person who is already working in another reputed company. Though it seems to be unethical, but uh, this is quite popular right now. And there is e-recruitment. That is, it is done through your internet. Okay. Now, coming to the elements of good recruitment policies. Any good recruitment policy must contain organizational objectives, both short term, long term, both must be taken into consideration. Number two, identification of recruitment needs. Three, preferred sources of recruitment. Four, criteria of selection and preferences, and monetary aspects. Whenever a policy is formed, it has to, the HRM people has to keep in mind that they want to find and employ the best qualified person for each job, and they want to retain the most promising one once hired. So they offer promising opportunities for lifetime working careers. And for this, they have to devise a good recruitment policy. Okay. Now coming to the steps. Before discussing the steps, let me uh you know discuss once more what is the difference between recruitment and selection. We often say recruitment is positive and selection is negative. Why? Because the basic objective of recruitment is to attract maximum number of candidates so that more options are available. And basic objective of selection is to choose best out of the available candidates. Mhm. So there is difference in process. Recruitment adopts the process of creating application pools, and selection adopts the process through which more and more candidates can be rejected. Recruitment techniques are so not very intensive. It does not require high skills. Uh, but in case of selection, highly specialized techniques are required. If you are a BBA student and going for internship in HR, you will see you will be given CVs and you will be given certain job objectives. Accordingly, you have to select the CVs. So it is not very intrinsic, not very intensive work. It does not require high skills. The selection still lies in the hands of the actual company people. So the outcome of recruitment is application pool, which becomes input for selection. So now I hope this process will be easily understood. First, we will discuss the recruitment process. Number one, job analysis is followed by identification of vacancies. Next, locating and developing sources of required and type of employees. Third, identifying the prospective employees with required characteristics. Five, evaluating the effectiveness of recruitment process. Okay. And next, coming to selection. Uh, uh, in selections, there are it can be categorized into mainly two steps: pre-selection steps and actual selections. Pre-selection steps include requisition. What do you mean by requisition? Whenever you know there's a vacancy in a particular department, the concerned manager of that department they have to inform to the HR. This is known as the raising of requisition. So, and recruitment, it is the process of informing people about the vacancy and then encouraging them to apply for the vacant jobs. Next, coming to the active selection process. Their number one is preliminary interview. Here the very basic questions, the primary level questions are asked about expected salary, previous experience. Okay. Next is formal blank applications. Uh, Whoever wants to apply, they have to fill up a blank application so that the company gets the vital information required, like personal name, general information like qualification, experience, references, expected salary. Then, in many companies, they hold written examinations, or else they move on to final interview, which is face to face interview, where they check communication ability, manners, attitude, job experience, education qualifications, knowledge about any specific job. Okay, next, psychological test. Actually, here they check the behavior and the temperament of the applicant. Next is reference testing. This is very common nowadays, actually to check the authenticity of the information that is provided by the candidate, nothing else. Then, as you know, health is wealth. And in many jobs, like if you want to be a pilot, if you want to join army, then medical testing, you have to be physically fit for that working in that organization. So it is test. Lastly, if you have qualified, you are given an employment offer where your designation to be held is mentioned, your pay scale, promotion opportunity, termination conditions, additional benefits that you will be provided. These all are specified. Okay. Now, uh, this chapter I would like to conclude not with the limitations, but with name of certain tests. Though these tests are not generally covered in UG level, but at least be acquainted with the names so that you can Google them and learn more about them. Whenever we talk about selection, there is certain test. Just hear the name of the test and just Google afterwards. Okay, trade test, psychological test, which include intelligence test, aptitude test, interest test, personality test, achievement test, projective test. Okay. Um, why am I telling you all this? Because right now, uh, if you want to be successful in HR, if you are a HR student and if you want to be a successful, then this can be a very good opportunity for you. If you are very good in understanding the psychology of the people, understanding the body languages, good in understanding, the graphology. So these added courses may help you to succeed. Okay. Now again, in this chapter also, this unit also, we will start from the beginning. We will revise, have a recap. I'll wait for 5 seconds in every slide and then I'll move on to the next. So again, take a deep breath as we move on to the next chapter with full focus. One, two, three, four, five. Unit 4, training and development. What is training? It means learning skills and knowledge. Why? For doing a particular jobs. It specifically increases job skills and development. It means the growth of an employee in all respects. It shapes your attitudes. Excuse me. So, training means imparting specific key skills among operative workers and employees. And development, it is associated with the overall growth of the executives. So, training is always concerned with maintaining and improving job performance. But development, it is for future performance. So, we can say training is job centered, development career centered. So, let us read again. Training is a device for the execution of a work through the increase of skill, ability, and knowledge. Development is a systematic process of developing knowledge of managers for facing the challenges of present and future environmental changes. Excuse me, I'm having a very bad cough and cold. Now, coming to the objectives of training and the benefits of training. Number one, individual objectives. Why? Because training helps in succeeding the personal goals of the employees. Organizational objectives, because training, uh, with the help of training, the
Ma'am, you
employees
can take
become.
a break and have some water.
No problem, no
Okay.
issues. Next, coming to organizational objectives. Uh, Training, you know, it helps the individuals to uh, become so skilled that brings individual efficiency. So the objective of the company is attained. So it helps as assisting the organization with the main or the primary objectives. So with functional objectives, that is, it preserves the department's contribution at a level that is suitable for the organizational needs. Societal objectives, that is, it confirms that organization is morally and socially responsible. As I have said before, an organization is established within the society. So it has to look after the needs and challenges of the society also. So, what are the objectives? If we summarize, it actually creates a pool of readily available adequate replacement for personnel who may leave or move up in the organization. It increases companies' ability to adopt or use advance in technology because they're already having suitable, knowledgeable staff. Then preparing more efficient, effective, and highly motivated team. So again, the company will be in competitive position and it will improve employees' morale. So adequate HR for expansion is always in hand of the company. So these are the here lies the importance of training. And if and this only, we can while if we are given to write the answer, this only we can write in a point form, like what are the benefits of training? Increased productivity, reduced micromanagement. Then organizations will have a solid pipeline of well trained and innovative potential leaders to grow and adapt over time. Increase job satisfaction and retention. It will help to attract highly skilled employees. Good training Well organized training, it will ensure the tasks are performed uniformly, resulting in tight quality control that the end users can trust. So, this will create a sense of teamwork and collaboration. This will ensure that employees have knowledge and skills to perform a task safely. They will be ready to assist each other when needed. And consistent training can help develop new strategies and products that will contribute to company's bottom line and continued success. Okay. Now coming to the methods of training. Training are of two types: on the job training methods, off the job training methods. On the job training methods, what do you mean by this? Um, these are, mainly known as job instruction training. Here, individual is placed on a regular job and is taught the skills that are necessary to perform the job, like in job rotation. What is done? This involves the movement of trainee from one job to the another. And in this way, the trainee receives job knowledge, gains experience from the supervisor. Then coaching. You all have heard this word coaching. What does it mean? Here, the trainee is placed under a particular supervisor and he acts as a coach. Job instruction. Here, this is also called step by step training. Here, the trainer explains to the trainee the way of doing the job. And committee assignment. Under this method, what happens? A group of trainees given a job and they're asked to solve an actual organizational problem. They have to solve it jointly, and then in this way, they develop teamwork. Now, coming to off the job training methods, here the trainee is separated from the job situation and his attention is focused on learning the material that is related to the future job performance. Number one, vestibule training. What happens here? Here, actual work conditions are stimulated in a classroom. This is, specifically done for clerical and semi skilled jobs. Next, role playing. This involves realistic behavior in an imaginary situation. This is mainly done for developing interpersonal interactions and relations. Lecture method, that's what I'm doing right now. It is the most traditional one and direct method of instruction. Here, instructor, they organize material like what I have done, and I'm giving you a lecture, giving you a talk, which may be beneficial to you. Then, conference. This involves group of people who put forth their ideas, examine, share facts, ideas, assumptions, and then draw a conclusion. But a conference will only be successful if it has a good leader who is leading the group. Lastly, programmed instruction. Recent years, this is becoming quite popular. Here, the subject matter that is to be learned is presented in a carefully planned sequential. But this is quite expensive and time consuming. Now, uh, as I have discussed with you the training methods, let me just mention the names of the types of training. Okay. Number one, induction training. Nowadays, even in chartered accountancy, in CMA, you have a induction. What do this mean? Induction? It's the initial training that is imparted to new workers as soon as they are employed. Then there is job training, there is promotional training, and refresher training. Job training, Uh, it is done to train, to improve the knowledge and skill of workers about the respective jobs. Promotional training. Sometimes, if the management decide to fill up vacancies through promotion, then they organize this promotional training, and then refresher training. When the workers are already selected and they are put to work, they are formally trained for their jobs. Okay. That is called refresher training. And nowadays, a new topic is coming up, though it is generally not covered within the syllabus. That is management training. If you're interested, you can Google sometimes. Okay, scroll through what is management training. And what is the concept of management development. Okay. Uh, so again, we have come to the end of this chapter. So let us again begin from the first slide. We will give 5 seconds for each slide, and then we will move on to the next slide. Please recap and please be serious. This 5 seconds can help you to have a very quick recap, which will help you to revise a full book. So here we move on to the last unit, that is unit 5, job evaluation and performance appraisal. As we move on to the next chapter with the same level of focus as we have started the class, take a deep breath and count with me 1 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now coming to unit 5, job evaluation. What is it? It is a systematic approach and orderly process of determining the worth of a job in relation to other jobs. What does this mean? It is a personal term, It has both specific and genetic meaning. It means job rating or grading, as you can say, of occupations in terms of duties. Generally, it means entire field of wages and salary administration along with the modern lines. Coming to the objectives of job evaluation. Number one, wage and salary fixation. Basic principle way of wage and salary fixation, it should be based on relative and contribution of different jobs. And obviously, it should not be on the basis of who the job holders are. And this is what actually job evaluation precisely does. Number two, recruiting job hierarchy. Job hierarchy means it refers to arranging various types of jobs in the order of their importance, whether on ascending or descending basis. There can be certain anomalies, like in terms of paying high wage and salaries to people who doesn't have that skill, or uh, paying beginners less, giving a hike to the person who does not justify, deciding the pay on the basis of seniority, paying unequal wages on the basis of race, sex, or religion. There can be these anomalies. And job evaluation, if it is carried on periodically and objectively, it helps in overcoming all these anomalies, which may arise over the period of time. Coming to the scope of job evaluation. Uh, Scope of applying job evaluation is only to all jobs within an organization, regardless of the level or the type of jobs. It is actually, it is used to determine relative worth of different jobs. And principles of job evaluation is applicable to all types of jobs and organization. So it is versatile. So, first one, selection of employees. Job evaluation procedure considers skills that is required to perform the job, responsibility associated with the performing the jobs. So these factors actually help to select the suitable person for the job. Excuse me. Number two, training and development. This process determines the significance and necessity of training and development of employees who are associated with a particular job. Excuse me. Number three, standardization of wage structure. That is, designing a standardized wage structure for different jobs on rational basis and settling disputes which may cause industrial unrest. Okay. So, what are the advantages of job evaluation? It helps to develop a sound wage structure. It ensures proper employee selection. It helps in proper employee placement, settlement of wage dispute, elimination of partiality, and assessment of training needs. Hmm. Now, coming to the next one, that is job analysis. What is job analysis? Don't look into the screen. First, listen to me. What is job analysis? It is a procedure through which you determine the duties and the nature of the jobs and the kinds of people who should be hired for them. Okay. So, job analysis. Um, why job analysis is important? It helps in selecting right candidate for the right job. It provides information about appropriate sources of recruitment to be used. It helps in deciding manpower recruitment based on the knowledge, skills, and quality. It provides detailed information regarding safety, welfare of employees. It provides information about suitability of jobs. Excuse me. It helps to estimate performance of employees. So it helps management to develop a long range strategic plan for all the concerned areas. So it provides information to the management about the job. And what does management do? They use this information to guide and counsel employees about their performance, training requirement, and skill upgradation. Okay, I hope now if we go to the screen and read through the definition, it will be clear. Please take a second and read. It is clear. Coming to job description. Please do not look into the screen. Listen to me. What is a job description? It is a paper of document. What does it do? It describes duties, qualifications, salaries, and job details. So, why job description is important? Because it gives a clear idea to the recruiting staff about what kind of candidate is required by a particular department to perform a specific job. So, it helps in attracting, recruiting, selecting the right candidate for the right job. It accurately reflects the duties of the particular person. It is helpful in soliciting the advice of the professionals, and it can be an useful communication tool to tell exactly what task you expect them to perform. It clarifies who will you report, and so it serves as a basis of orienting new employees and evaluating job performance. Now look into the screen and I'll wait for 2 seconds, go through the definition. Okay, hope it is clear. Next, job specification. Don't look into the screen, listen to me. Job description, it is a statement of needed knowledge, skills, abilities of the person who is to perform the job. So, you can call it the standard of personnel for the selection. Why job specification is important? Because simply because it helps employ the companies to boost the company productivity with proper manpower. It gives a detailed information about any job, including their job responsibilities, desired technical, physical skills. It helps in selecting the most appropriate candidate for a particular job. It saves time for human resource manager and makes it easier to identify ideal candidate. You can say the job specification, they streamline the recruitment process, and it helps in measuring the capabilities that the job holder must possess to perform that job. It helps the management to take decisions regarding promotion, transfer. So obviously, job specification is important. So now, please go to the screen and read. I'll wait for 2 seconds. Now we move on to performance appraisal. What is it? Don't look into the screen. First, listen to me. It is a systematic and periodic process of what? Of measuring an individual's work performance against established requirements of the job. Uh, what are the objectives of performance appraisal? Number one, compensation decision. That is, it can serve as a basis for pay raises, promotion decisions. It can serve as a useful basis for job change, training and development program. It can serve as a guide for formulating a suitable training and development program. Feedback. This enables the employee to know how well he is doing a job. Mhm. Personal development. This performance appraisal can help reveal the causes of good and poor employee performance. Uh, After having a discussion with individual employees, a line manager can find out why they perform as they do and what steps can be initiated to improve. That's where the importance of performance appraisal lies. Now, coming to the text, we will not go into the detail. We will just uh, learn the names. What are the types of performance appraisals? 360-degree appraisal, negotiated appraisal, peer assessment, and self assessment. So, you see, I have, in a nutshell, I have tried to mention the importance of performance appraisal. Number one, it improves business areas and processes. Number two, it defines aspects for training and development because learning what employees need help and allows the organization to implement strategies for training worker more effectively. Number three, enhance profitability. Performance appraisals help employees and managers to devise strategies to refocus their tasks. Uh, here now, in the process of performance appraisals comes barriers also. There can be faulty assumptions. Both superiors and subordinates may have faulty assumptions. There can be psychological blocks. The managers may feel insecurity, may feel, the task of appraiser as an extra burden. Maybe there can be technical difficulties. There can be criteria problem. There can be distortion, different sort of. But it has to be overcome. How? By rating two individuals for the same person should be compared to obtain a reliable rating system. The appraisal system should focus on objective analysis of performance in reference to traits, success, failure. It must be made by immediate supervisors of the rates and it must be reviewed. So, there must be a goal oriented climate altogether so that people do not resist the appraisal system. Now, coming to the job evaluation methods, I have kept job evaluation methods and process side by side is that um, you need to know, first you need to evaluate the jobs and on the basis of that, you need to grade the jobs. Once the jobs are graded, job specification, descriptions, everything followed. Last comes the performance appraisal, the process of appraising. This is why I've kept both of them together. Anyway, uh, job evaluation methods, there are of two types, non analytical and analytical. Non analytical methods include ranking methods. This is the easiest, simplest, and least expensive. Here, different jobs are ranked from highest to lowest on the basis of the importance in the organization. Uh, but this is not found suitable for large organizations. Next is job grading method. This is also known as job classification method. Here, there are predetermined job classes and jobs are assigned to these grades. Next is analytical. Under analytical comes factor comparison methods. Under this method, there are certain factors within the jobs that are identified, and then the factors are ranked for. If you ask me what are these factors, I can give you some examples like mental effort, physical effort, product knowledge. Okay. Lastly, point ranking method. This is most widely used. Okay. And it involves more detailed analysis, and therefore, this is a little time consuming. Under this method, the key factors of each jobs are found out, and then the key factors are further subdivided into sub factors. Anyway, um, now coming as I have discussed job evaluation method, just let me name certain methods for performance appraisal, then I'll end up by discussing the process. Again, the methods are not covered within UG syllabus, so I'll just name them. Just try to remember the names and will, if you're interested, uh, what are the methods of performance appraisal? 720-degree feedback, assessment center method, behaviorally anchored rating scale, checklist method, critical incidence method, customer method, field review method, forced choice method, general performance appraisal method, human resource accounting method, management by objective. This is very important. Performance tests and observations, project evaluation review, and rating scales. Mhm. Okay. Uh, Now coming to the end of our unit, that is steps of performance appraisal or the process. Step one. First, you have to establish the performance standard. That is, you have to decide and define the performance standard, which will be considered as standard yardstick. Number two, you have to communicate the standard to the employees. Why? So that they know what and how they are to perform. Number three, excuse me, measuring actual work performance. This step actually involves selection of the most appropriate method of measuring the performance and, very importantly, the proper way of recording it. Step 4, comparison of actual performance with standard performance, because this will tell us whether the concerned employee is lagging behind or they have excelled in his work. Step 5, discussing the result with the employees. Why? Because again, this has to be communicated, and this communication can be verbally or written, formal or informal, and both positive and negative feedback, it should be given to the employees. Last, step 6, decision making. Now, HR manager take the decision based on the results. On the basis of the decision, they may promote, demote, transfer, further train. Okay. So, uh, here we come to the end of this chapter. Again, like the prior chapters, we will revise. For each slide, I'll wait for 5 seconds. Okay. Now, as we have come to the end of the units, let us take a deep breath, because still now we are having the same focus, and still now we are having lots of energy, because our concepts are clear and everything is, very lucid. We have a clear concept, everything is within our brain. So whenever we are, whenever we want to think and answer, things will come in front of us. We'll be able to view them. Okay. With the same zeal, let us now into some classwork. Please, I know it is 9:22 dinner time, but still, I'll request you to give me 5 more minutes. You all have been a very good listeners. You all have been cooperating with me for so long. Just bear with me for 5 more minutes. Please take the pain of reading through these questions and try to visualize the answer. I'm sure you will be able to because your concepts are clear and you have the summary in hand. These questions can be, can come for 2 marks, can come for 5 marks, can come for 10 marks. Uh, this can be devised into MCQ. So if you know the answer of these questions, if the concepts are clear, marking system will not disturb you. You are already ready for your exam. You are ready for your interview. You no need to think of how much marks will be allocated to that question. Hmm. Please go through. There are only 8 questions. Hope this is done. I'm moving on to unit 2. There are only 6 questions. That's a small tip for my dear students. That is, whenever you sit in an exam to give a theoretical exam, you also do not want to write, and it is also very difficult for the examiner to take the pain of checking and checking, long answers, same answers, back to back copies within the constant time. Okay, it is difficult for examiners too. So my suggestion is try to give answers to the point. If it is a 10 marks question or 6 marks, 7 marks, 8 marks question, write a one sentence introduction followed by bulletin points. I am not asking you to draw bullets. Just write the point, underline with the same pen, but leave one line gap between each point, so that your copy looks very neat. Try to underline every point, and after every answer try to draw a clear line. Keep your copy neat. Your uh, numbering should be correct. Your spelling should be correct. Whenever you are quoting, your quotations and name of the person whom you are quoting should be spelled correctly. And as I was saying, if you're writing a long answer, try to end up with a conclusion, one line conclusion. If you're asked that coordination is the essence of management, justify, then your answer must contain this last line, that this justifies that coordination is the essence of management. And whenever there is a long answer, try to give a flow chart, a diagrammatic representation, a very quick diagrammatic representation. You do not need to use scales and everything, up pencil, draw with a lot of time. No, a very quick sketch. Just within a square, you write the point, give a arrow, and write the next point. That gives a very good impression to get good marks. Okay. And please write in your own language. Do not mug up. Specifically, I'm telling for the people who are writing the answers in English, but they are not. They have not been from English medium background. Please do not mug up. Keep your concepts clear. Write in your own language. That will be helpful for you even when you face an interview. Next, I move on to the questions for Unit 3. I move into questions of Unit 4. There are only 4 questions. Unit 5. And one more thing, many a times students ask which book to follow. Now, dear, there are a lot of books on HRM. You can follow any book, any study map. Everything will give you a same picture. So that is not a problem at all. You can follow any book. Just read. You have to read. There's no need to mug up, but you have to read at least 2 to 3 times. Then you will be able to remember the points and even the concepts will be clear to you. So even if you have MCQ or non-MCQ, it will not matter to you. You will be able to answer. And even if you face an interview, there also you'll be able to answer if your concepts are clear and if you can express yourself in very lucid language. Okay? So thank you, dear. Now I am uh, just moving from the PPT. And if you have any questions, I'll take up your questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your lucid explanation. I don't think anyone have any question after this energetic and detailed explanation on human resource management. I hope the most of the students have developed their concept on human resource management and their importance in corporate world from this lecture. This was so energetic and so relevant for undergraduate students. Thank you so much, ma'am, again, and thank you all. Now we are concluding day 2 of special lecture series program for undergraduate students, and day 3 of special lecture series program will be updated soon. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. A special thanks to Lama sir and his team, and and obviously to my dear students who are listening to me and who have been cooperating. And thank you all. And good night. Have a nice dream. Okay, but please pay attention to your studies. Study a little bit, but study sincerely. Thank you.